Okay.
All right. Hello, hello.
Hi.
Welcome, Carolina.
Mm.
So, I'm Jasmin Soleil, and I just wanted to say hello to everybody. I was just on Facebook Live. We were having some difficulties, and so we decided to do a Zoom video. Are you wiggling your nose?
That's how the magic comes in.
That's your way. So, as I spoke before in the Facebook Live, my intention on this spring equinox day and full moon in Libra is to start generating energy and bringing energy back into the group Wild Moon Muses, and also possibly into bigger aspects in the world. And my friend Carolina here has been my wild woman friend for how long now? Like 15 years?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Maybe even longer than that.
Lifetime.
Wow. Yes.
So yeah, we met a long time ago in my late 20s, and that was in Los Angeles. We were both living in Los Angeles, and we were being our little maiden women, wild women, in Hollywood at that time.
Concrete jungle fairies.
Going through our little, artistic revolutions together. And we had some really good times.
Yes, we did.
And now we're both more mature, I would say.
And on opposite coasts.
Opposite coasts. And I'm in Portland and she's in Miami.
Yep.
So we have been following each other, but we've lost touch a little bit, but we've always been soul sisters. So whenever we pick up the phone again, we're right back with each other. And last week we were having a conversation, and this has been happening to me a lot recently with my sisters, and that when we're talking, I feel like the whole world should be hearing us, because we have a lot to say and we have a lot to give and a lot to share, that I think the world needs to hear more of. And just having these conversations one-on-one is great, but now we have the ability to broadcast and to be heard in different ways and in bigger ways. And I think it's time for our voices to be heard in those ways. And I feel, my intention is to really be of service to others, to other women, to other wild women who are undomesticating themselves in a world where there's just so much expectation to be a certain way. And part of the reason I have this group is to hold that container for women to explore their wild sides, whatever that means for them, and to start to really dream bigger and express their desires and their visions and their goals, and share those with each other so that we can see each other create those in the world. So one of the things I was talking about in the group earlier was, some of the challenges too that we have as women and as mothers to do that. I know I have my own personal journey, and we all do. And Carolina's also a mother. So now we've gone from maidenhood to motherhood together, and we've been, witnessing that in each other. And that's a really beautiful thing. But when I talked to her last week, it really re-inspired that connection where it's like, wow, I need this connection with her. I need to talk to her more. I need to hear her reflections. I need that shoulder to lean on, because we're not really here to do it alone. It's never been done this way before, where we've basically been isolated as women and raising our children without the support and the network of other mothers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's great freedom and liberation in that, because we don't, by necessity, we're not confined to the tribe, but in the process of growth, we have lost the network of the tribe. And so we are like in all of our different ways through what we're doing now and social media and all of the tools that are available to us. We are now reconnecting, and finding those webs and those support systems and recreating our tribes. And it's amazing that you and I can be so far away from each other physically and still feel that unity and still find that connection and support and create that support with each other. And that's really the beauty of where we are now. It's like we can look and say and feel how things have changed and how we've lost things. But in that same perspective is the other side, which is the liberation and the freedom that we have now, to create something new, and that's beautiful and that's awesome.
And that's why I love hearing your perspective, because you always bring that in, that new breath of fresh air. And you're a Libra, right? So
I am.
the air sign. I'm a fire sign, Aries. So I like to get things going. But, Libra, the air sign, helps to push that fire along. It brings in that new breath of fresh air.
Your flames can go higher. I love to watch you burn. It's that beautiful purification fire. I love it. I love it.
Right. And so the other cool thing I realized, today is also Sun in Aries. The Sun is moving into Aries.
And Moon in Libra.
So,
we're so connected right now on all quadrants and
Aries, so feeling that dual nature, the polar opposites, the equinox, which is all about balance, and what I was talking about in the group.
Ooh, I love.
I was trying to get you on.
I know. Well, me too.
That's why I love, chatting with you, because I think it helps we balance each other out, and that's what I think sisterhood and connection can help to do, and I feel like we need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
how do we find it, and how do we connect to it, and what keeps us from it? And I'm not even sure that there are specific answers to those questions. I just think that those are the beautiful questions to ask, and to ask continuously, because it's a journey, it's a process. Life is a process. When we first came on, we were describing how we used to be these, uh, concrete jungle fairies, just bouncing around and discovering ourselves and the world and all the possibilities. And now we've anchored in home, in ourselves and our locations and our families, or whatever it is that we've grounded into. And it's all a journey. It's a constant evolution and exploration. And I think that the questions are super important. And how do we connect? Or what keeps us from connecting? So how do we reach out to one another? And that was something so powerful for us today, because, we've been able to talk on the phone. And it's always super, like you said, it's like a, immediate connection as soon as we get on the phone. But you suggested doing this video, and it's a great idea. I mean, I've been on a conference call with you before, a video call, but we've never gone live. And there were technical difficulties, and I couldn't go on, and I had to figure some things out and troubleshoot. And then so did you, and we ended up in a different place, and we're gonna try a different avenue. And I think that's kind of how life happens, there are ways that we're used to doing things and we access them easily, and then there's room to grow. And sometimes when we go in those new avenues, we face obstacles, like we're challenged. And sometimes it feels right just to walk away, and sometimes it feels right to keep going and learn new things. But holding those questions gently for ourselves and saying, what do I need from this connection? Or, how do I want to connect? Where do I want to connect? Why isn't this feel like it's working for me? How do I, just the holding that gentle space of exploration, and the intentions. What is it that I'm looking for, and what is it that I need?
Mhm.
And those two go really well together, because in the obstacles we often find our fears, our limitations, and in our intentions we often find our room to grow, our places, our heart spaces, our dreams.
Mhm.
And they work together.
Yeah, I agree. And I was just watching something on Marie Forleo. I think we talked about this last week. She was in an interview, and they were talking about resistance, and it's totally a natural thing that happens when you put yourself out there, no matter what you do. If it's a creative project, if you're stepping forward in a new way, whatever it is, writing, art, video work, a film, like any kind of project, you're going to meet up with resistance,
Yeah.
just like planting a seed. Once that seed sprouts and begins to grow, there's a shadow that comes along with it. So it's like learning to find that resistance and then meeting it and saying, hey, I see you,
Yeah.
but you're not going to stop me. And that's totally what I did, when we were talking last week, or the week before actually, and we were planning on like going live and being seen. And it's been a long time since I've done a live or been on video, and I realized like there's such a fear around it for me. Like all of a sudden being seen again. I don't even care who's seeing me. It's just like putting stuff out there. Maybe one person will see me, maybe 1,000. But because I invited Carolina in, she held me accountable and was like, all right, are we going to get on today or tomorrow? And I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I guess we are. And but once we're in, I realize like all that shadow just melts away and things just start to flow. It's pretty amazing when you can like move past your resistance and that feeling, of the fear turns to excitement.
Yeah. And
So,
have a witness, and have a friend, and hold a hand, and feel, part of a process that is not just your own, but, part of a whole.
mhm,
And even though, like, right now it's just the two of us, this is something that happens every day, like people trying out their dreams and putting themselves out there and braving whatever is holding them back.
mhm,
And I love that image that you communicated of the sprout, that there's this little seed and it starts to grow, but it's not just like, oh, wow, there's the tree. It has to push out of the shell of the little seedling compartment, and then it has to push through the earth, and then it has to push through the top of the earth and really break it open, and
yeah,
then it has to face this like light and sun and rain, and hold itself when the soil gets mushy with the rain, and then there's the shadow. There's so many elements to the process.
yeah.
And
I
it's
think the hardest part is just bursting out of that shell, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and that's where I feel a lot of us are right now, especially, in spring. That's a perfect symbol. Is, you feel that containment around you,
yeah,
you know, kind of like the containment we were in winter, if we're going by the seasonal cycles. And that's, another reason I wanted to start this group is because I feel that nature, a lot of the way the world works isn't along with the cycles. We're always just forced to be productive or creative all the time because of money. We need to make money. We need to pay the bills.
yeah,
But truly, if you're tuned into the cycles, winter is the time for deeper visioning, for like going underground and nourishing those roots
Yeah.
before you actually spring up
Yeah.
out of the earth. And so, what I'm asking everyone to do is to take time today on the equinox to reflect on the things that were stirring down below, for you in the past few months. What kind of dreams and desires and challenges were you feeling the past 3 months? What were the itches? What were the nudges that you were feeling? And and then start to draw those up, because those are the things in the next 3 months that we're going to be putting energy towards and starting to make visible.
Yeah.
So I'm curious as to, for you, have you been, what's your personal, I want to hear a little of your personal journey
Well,
of what's been going on for you.
well,
We have, limited time, but we have 40 minutes on this.
a lot of wonderful creative projects, and then just a lot of growth. So I went back into my family home as far as like lineage wise. So I moved in with my mom and my grandmother for last year, and I was able to really bring in a lot of light and healing to the root system, and into my sort of deeper self. And then this year, I have moved out of that home, and I'm back into a space with my daughter. And it's just taking all of that healing and allowing it, knowing that, you know, uh, incorporating the pieces of who I am and where I come from, and allowing it to be an integrated self.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, I feel renewed, but in a grounded way, like in a deeply rooted sensibility. And so I had studied psychology when I was in Los Angeles, and then I ended up divorcing it because of disagreements that we had. And I have since found that coaching is a little bit more aligned with some of the things that I really liked and enjoyed about studying psychology, and what I wanted to do with it, as far as, helping people achieve things within themselves. And so I've rediscovered that, and the universe is literally supporting me. So, it was something that was really just in my mind's eye. And then all of a sudden it became concrete, as far as, like, of course, I was reading books, I was educating myself, I was unfolding in ways that felt really pleasurable to me, that were following my interests. And then life just literally brought me a phone call and said, hey, here's a client that you weren't even trying to get, but this is because this is, where you can grow now. And you've been working on the soil and the root system. And so now you can have new growth in this area. And it's been fun and lovely and very creative.
Mm-hmm.
And then in addition to that, I have been unfolding as a creative director with a photographer, and just really taking certain principles and ideas like emergence and embodiment, and looking at how you can represent those visually, without necessarily, like, kind of beyond words,
Mm-hmm.
So just those, on those two levels, it's like, um, who am I? Where do I come from? How do people see me? How do I see myself? How can I receive and interact with life, and, enjoy each moment? And then what suddenly unfolds, and how can I play in that space?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how these two branches unfold over the upcoming spring and summertime.
Yeah. It seems like you really are redefining, in a place of redefining yourself right now.
Yeah, it's more like clarification. Yeah, yeah.
Like
Because
sculpting.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Because I feel like these things have both been present in my life, but I just couldn't, they weren't clear.
Hmm.
And now they've become a lot more clear. And yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah. Well, and I was just saying this to you in the group, um, that it does take time, to discover what those desires are, and then to commit to those, um, and put energy towards those, especially when a lot of your energy is going to other things like family, um, dynamics, and, just life stuff.
Survival. Yeah, life stuff, exactly. Yeah, the
So,
daily.
you know, um, that's hopefully what, coming together, witnessing each other, and being in a group can help us with, is creating that level of commitment so that we can see those um, come to bloom
Yeah.
in the world, and hopefully sooner than later. Because I know I feel like I've been on the treadmill of this for a while, just discovering what's true to me and my life's purpose. And it takes time, it takes time to just see what you like, what works for you, what doesn't work for you, what makes money, what is a hobby. All these things are real, it's the real world stuff. And I think, that money piece is very important too.
Yeah.
How are you going to sustain yourself, and feed and nourish yourself and your family as you work on your dreams and desires?
Yeah.
And I mean, what do you find has helped you through those challenges?
Community, definitely community. And patience and a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to do things that I didn't necessarily want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I spent several years in a job that was completely unrelated to anything that I had prepared for or was truly interested in. But it was highly lucrative. So, I needed the money, and the job presented itself to me, and interestingly enough, my question to the universe right before I got that phone call, which was many years ago, was, I said, what can I do to support my family fully without, at the time I was married, without my husband having to work, because he wanted to explore a career as an artist. And I wanted to be able to support him, doing that without him having to focus on bringing home an income. And so as soon as I asked that question full heartedly and fully embodied, like with the desire, I got a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just that my receiver, my body mind, right? Because it's interconnected. It wasn't crystal clear on who I was at the time. But my question was, how can I make a ton of money? And so I got a phone call about a ton of money, unrelated to anything I had any interest in. I mean, the only link in there was my office was outdoors, which I have always been clear on. I'm not easily confined to small spaces. I don't do well there. And then additionally, I got to see tons and tons of people constantly interacting with people, and being able to bring joy and happiness to their lives. And so on those two fronts, which are just characteristics that define me, my needs were met. But that's what I asked for, was money. And so it's community, it's finding it's like having faith that if you're clear about what you ask for, it will be provided. So there's flexibility, because now I don't make as much money, but I am willing to give up a lot of those other things that I was able to have then,
Mm-hmm.
um, because I'm enjoying what I'm exploring a lot more.
Mhm.
Number one. Number two, I have full faith that this is going to keep growing. The more I play with it, the more I love it, the more I'm going to get phone calls. Like, I just know that to be true, you know? So what can I say? You know, I'm a fountain of abundance.
Ooh, I like that. It's a good way to kind of transition because I have a feeling we're nearing the end of the 40-minute
We
time
could
we
probably go
had.
on forever.
I know there's a lot to talk about with all of this, and I feel like this is just the beginning. We're just starting to stir the pot. But part of what I'd like to reflect as to what you were saying is also within my experience is learning what to commit yourself to, and committing yourself to the things that really excite you, you know, because as you turn, past 40, I noticed that time really goes by faster. And you also reflect on things differently, and you realize, like, I only have time for certain things in my life. And I realized for me, I had to I had to wipe out relationships that were drama filled. Some of the things I was doing that just didn't serve me anymore, and start just getting real with what is important to you and what you want to put your energy towards.
Yeah.
So I think it's like siphoning those things out and then committing to those things that really excite you. And then, if it's a hobby that you want to make into a career, or whatever your vision is really focusing on only that, and just giving that your energy, like, fully and completely. And again, like what you said, is being supported in that. So what does that look like? What
Yeah.
does that look like for you? Is that
Right.
calling a friend once a week and just saying, hey, let's mastermind and let's stay on this? Is it joining, an online group? Is it creating your own circle of women that
Yeah.
you visit, in physical once a month? Or is it all of the above?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it is very true. To have that support is definitely key.
And to be flexible, you know, like, even if what you want to do, let's say, is create a theater company, but you love to bike ride, you know, putting together a group of bike riders that go out every Saturday night for a certain bike ride, you know, it's not necessarily directly linked to you being able to put together your theater company, but it brings you joy and connection and movement and flow. And those things, when you put them together with vision and faith, they work miracles.
I love it. And then, like you said, tapping into that stream of abundance. And I think for me, it's a daily practice. And I think it's the perfect time right now, with spring and that abundant energy. But knowing that energy is there with you all the time. I mean, spring, fall, winter, it's just, it moves, to different aspects of your life. But how do you tap into that fountain of abundance?
Yes, what a
Love
beautiful question. Just a
it.
beautiful
Do you
question.
have a way that you do?
Well, for me, it is very much writing. For me, I do morning pages,
Mm.
and I have for a long, long time. I mean, I do sort of weave in and out of it, but and then movement, you know, dancing or walking or bike riding. For me, both of those things, and then imagining lots of money. I love to fantasize about money, you know, like, I just, yeah, I feel good about it. I don't like to sweat money. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like to be like focusing on where it's missing or how little of it I may have or what it's not, or feeling any heaviness. For me, money is like, I kind of imagine it like raining down, like I just like to play with the idea of money. And even when I don't have any, I still like to play with that idea in that way.
Yeah.
Um, I just feel it's more fun.
I
So,
know, and I've been noticing that too, with myself, because I mean, I think this could be a whole other topic, but and I would love to tend to it, at another time. But um, I have a lot of trauma from my childhood around money, and I think a lot of us do. And so I have this tendency to worry,
yeah,
and I feel like that pushes it away. So when I find myself doing that, I notice I just kind of like start to shift perspective, and then I just say, I know that the goddess will show up.
yeah,
She will, or whoever it is for you, God, creator, source, will show up to provide.
yeah,
And we've made it this far. I mean, we're existing, we're like eating every day, we have clothes and food and health and wealth, in so many different ways. So, and just I like help myself by saying that,
yeah.
an
Positive
affirmation.
affirmation. Yeah.
God
And gratitude.
always shows up.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? I like that idea of maybe coming back to this in at another time, because this is a really powerful and beautiful conversation, and you have such a deep relationship with rituals, and I would love to hear more about some of the ways that you tap into um, your creative magic and your abundance, and we could also talk a little bit more about the things that do come up for us from our past, and how we've been able to overcome them, or how we heal them, or even how we just sit with them.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's where the transformation is, right? We're all on the journey
Yeah.
together. So it's so wonderful to reflect about it together.
Yeah.
And I thank you for your wild woman wisdom. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
And I hope this serves you in the highest way, and everyone who hears this as well. So
Mm.
thank you for this time and space, and just bringing all that energy in to the body and grounding it. And I invite you all to just tap into your infinite abundance and grace on the spring equinox day. I want to give thanks for your presence and for being here today.
Mm.
From my heart to yours.
And mine to
Blessed
yours.
be.
Blessings.